We're back with Open Innovation Week. Thanks to everyone who is watching us live. Remember, you could write your questions to our panelists in the YouTube chat. Now, to talk about why to focus on agribusiness in Brazil as a Japanese investor, I invite Mr. Mitsuru Nakayama, Director of Brazil Venture Capital. Welcome, Mitsuru-san. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you very much, Marco. Good morning, everyone in Brazil, and good evening, everyone in Japan. As taking the button from Eduardo of AgriTech, I just changed the back photo for this presentation. So let me share my screen with you to talk about how I see about the Brazilian agri-tech industry and investment opportunity. And briefly, I introduce myself. I am the founder of Brazil Venture Capital, which is a venture capital focusing on Brazilian startups, especially in a very early stage, like a pre-seed round. And I originally from Japan, but I'm living in Brazil for 9 years. And previously, I was an entrepreneur as well, and also a management consultant at the bank company. Well, I will talk about 2 points today. One is why focusing on the agri in Brazil, and how Japanese startups can look for a Brazilian market. So why Brazilian market is attractive? I see like a major 3 drivers. One is enormous market for startups and venture capital investors. Brazil is the 4th largest internet user country in the world. So it has 140 million internet users, which is more than a whole population in Japan. And high smartphone users penetration, so pretty much equal to Japanese market. And the second point is still a less competitive market, I should say. Not much international entries because of some cultural or probably language or some other reasons. And the domestic market is not too hot or too crowded like the market of Chinese or Indian markets that I hear from my peer investors. And thirdly, flexible regulatory policy. I know people know about Brazil, and especially from regulatory perspective. Brazil is a very bureaucratic sometimes, and regulation is very tough to understand. However, I see Brazilian regulation policy is kind of flexible for new services and a new technology. And there is a margin to test new services even before start establishing a regulation. For example, this RPAX drone, it is very hard to fly drones in the field in Japan because of the regulation. And before having a regulation, people are kind of worried about doing or implementing new technology in real life because there are a lot of dangers probably or some risks. But in Brazil, there is a room to start operating legally in a very early stage of the technology. So ARPAC has accumulated a lot of experience as a drone operation company. But if ARPAC had started in Japan, probably they couldn't get enough experience that they have now in 3 years of operation. So it is very interesting to see that this flexibility in regulatory perspective. So talking about the agro business market. So this is a comparison of the average field size per farmer or producer. So in Brazil, the average area for agribusiness is 70 hectares per producer. But in Japan, it's 3 hectares. So that's another reason I'm asking a lot, Japanese technology in agro business can be applicable in Brazilian market. Well, if you see the average, it is always tough to see average of Brazil because Brazil is a very diversified country. So this is the number or percentage of producers by area they have. So you can see 98% of the Japanese producers have less than 10 hectares of agricultural field. However, in Brazil, well, only 53%. However, there still is 53% is has a pretty much the same size of the Japanese agricultural land. This is very important point to see. And if you look at the largest island in, or second largest island in Japan, which is called Hokkaido, the distribution of the producers by size of their field, it becomes a little bit much similar to Brazilian ones. So imagine, well, if we think of like agri-technology, which is applicable in a larger field in Hokkaido, for example, can be applicable to Brazilian smaller or medium-sized producers. That's how I see the market. And another reason why you should consider Brazil is if you have like a 1.5% of the Brazilian agricultural area, which is the 100% of the Japanese agricultural area. So if you see the market, 80% of the area is occupied by 9% of the producer, which is right bottom hand of the slide. So those like a large producers which has more than 100 hectares are occupying the market. However, the rest, like let's say like this 53% of the producer which has less than 10 hectares has 2% of the Brazilian agricultural market, which is larger than 100% of the Japanese agricultural market. So why you don't see this opportunity? By the way, Brazilian economy depends on agricultural business, related business, I should say. So 25% of the GDP. And if Brazil produce something, it becomes easily to be the world top 5 producers. And that's the reason I invested on agribusiness in Brazil. And that's how I get this nice t-shirt from our pack, by the way. So, and there are several Japanese startups are looking at Brazilian market. And Jetro is organizing this startup acceleration hub project. And I am representing Sao Paulo chapter. And a drone company is looking at the Brazilian market, which is called Blue Bee. And another is Axel Space, which analyzes or which launches satellites and also analyzes satellite images. And Sagri is also a satellite image analysis company combining with a lot of data from other source. They organize those data to understand and also segment the terrain to monitor the sectors. And Nihon Agri, which is exporting some like Japanese fruits and also started locally produced in high quality farming products in Asian countries. And also this Shohei has worked in Brazil, so he's pretty much looking at Brazilian market. And last but not least, Agri-Info Design, which navigates tractors to easily work in agricultural field, which is big. And also some smaller and medium-sized producers who don't have access to bigger and like latest technology tractors can also have a similar functionality using their unique solution. So this is basically it. And if you have anything related to agribusiness or startups or Japanese market, please give me a call and we can have a talk.